All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to break down India's incredibly ambitious plan to completely overhaul its national defense. We're talking about a massive effort to forge a shield for the 21st century. So, to really wrap our heads around the scale of this, let's just start with a number, a huge number. This is 4 trillion rupees. And that's the estimated price tag for just one single overarching project. And that massive undertaking? It's got a code name, Project Sudarshan Chakra. The goal here is nothing short of creating a totally integrated air and space defense shield to cover the entire country. And they want it done by 2035. Now, you might think a project that big is the whole story, but really, it's just one piece of a much, much bigger strategic puzzle. This is all part of a brand new national defense roadmap that shows a fundamental shift in how India's military is thinking about the future.
So get this new roadmap, known as the TPCR 2025, has more than doubled the number of defense technology programs in just a few years. We're seeing a jump from 221 all the way to 457. I mean, that's a crystal clear signal that development is kicking into high gear.
Okay, so the number of programs is exploding, but where is all that energy and money going? Well, if you look at the chart, it's pretty obvious. The growth in cyber systems, electronics, and electronic warfare is just off the charts. It now makes up nearly half of all projects. That tells you everything you need to know. India sees its future defense as being digital, smart, and totally networked.
So why all this investment? Why now? Well, this isn't happening just for the sake of it. There's a very real, very pressing reason that's driving this entire transformation.
And that reason, the central driver behind this whole thing, is the need to get ready for a challenge that military planners have worried about for decades: a sustained, simultaneous threat on two fronts, from both Pakistan and China.
So let's break that down. First, let's look west, towards Pakistan. Their Air Force is modernizing, fielding a mix of proven American F-16s alongside newer Chinese-made jets like the J-10C and the very capable JF-17. And it's not just about the fighter jets. Backing them up is a really diverse missile arsenal. You've got everything from terrain-hugging cruise missiles to the nuclear-capable Shaheen ballistic missiles, which can reach deep into Indian territory. Okay, so that's the Western Front. Now, at the very same time, you have to look north towards China, which deploys some of its most advanced systems in the region. We're talking about things like the J-20 stealth fighter, a fifth-generation jet that's designed to be almost invisible to radar.
And then there are the missiles. China's rocket forces have this incredibly dense network, and some of these are real game changers. The DF-17, for instance, carries a hypersonic glide vehicle. This is a weapon that flies at more than 5 times the speed of sound, and that dramatically cuts down the reaction time you have to defend against an attack.
All right, so you've got these very advanced threats potentially coming from two directions at the same time. It's a tough spot to be in. So the big question is, how does India's current defensive shield actually hold up against that kind of pressure?
In this quote right here, it really nails the problem. You can have a few super advanced, powerful missile systems, but that's just not enough when you're stretched across a huge geography against 2 potential adversaries. It's kind of like having a couple of really strong locks on a house that has a dozen open windows. The analysis found some critical vulnerabilities, some real seams in the armor.
And when you dig in, you find some really serious gaps. We're talking about blind spots low to the ground, where missiles or drones can sneak past radar. A real vulnerability to something as simple as a swarm of cheap drones. And maybe most critical of all, no way to detect a missile launch from space the moment it happens, which is called boost phase detection.
So, how do you fix all this? Well, the master plan isn't what you might think. It's not just about going out and buying more shiny new missiles from other countries. No, this is about fundamentally re-engineering the entire defense industry from the inside out.
And this chart, this really shows you the new playbook. Look at that breakdown. The plan is to focus on subsystems. We're talking about the high-tech brains, the sensors, the complex components inside the big platforms like jets and ships. Nearly 87% of all new programs are focused right there.
This whole strategy really boils down to one key word you're going to hear a lot: indigenization. So what does that actually mean? It's a huge strategic shift. The goal is to stop being just a buyer of foreign weapons and start becoming a nation that designs and builds its own complex technology from the ground up, forcing its own companies to become true system architects.
Okay, so that's the strategy. It's a big, ambitious plan. But what does it actually look like in the real world? Let's talk about the actual hardware that's being built to forge this new defensive shield.
Remember that 4 trillion rupee number from the beginning for Project Sudarshan Chakra? Well, here's where that money is going. You can see the biggest chunks are being poured into layered missile defenses and a whole new generation of ground radars. But look, there's also a serious investment being made in space-based systems too. You can really think of this new arsenal as being built on 4 main pillars. And what's really interesting is that each one of these pillars is specifically designed to plug one of those dangerous gaps we talked about earlier.
So, pillar number 1, Project Kusha. This is a huge deal. It's a homegrown long-range missile system, basically India's answer to the famous Russian S-400. It's got 3 different missile types, creating a layered defense that can hit targets like stealth fighters and cruise missiles from over 350 kilometers away.
All right, next up, you've got to protect your troops when they're on the move, right? That's where the QRSAM comes in, the Quick Reaction Surface-to-Air Missile. Think of it as a mobile bodyguard for Army columns, a system that can travel with them and shoot down threats even while it's moving.
And this slide, this is where it all comes together. It shows that intense new focus on sensors. Remember those blind spots we mentioned? Well, new VHF radars are being developed specifically to spot stealth aircraft. And that 52 satellite constellation? That's the eyes in the sky that will give India a constant, unblinking view from above, closing those critical surveillance gaps for good. So when you step back and look at the big picture, it's clear what's happening here. This is a monumental pivot. India is trying to fundamentally change its role in the world, from being the biggest importer of weapons to an architect of its own high-tech defense. But, and this is the big question that hangs over everything, can its own domestic industrial ecosystem actually deliver on an ambition this grand and this complex? That is the multi-trillion rupee question.